Hi, welcome to Window on the World. I'm your host, Kristen Hanna. This program focuses in on the international mission here at Missouri Southern. Today in studio, we'll sit down and talk with people from the Spanish program that actually spent a month in Spain. We have joined with us today Leslie Smith, the professor in the Spanish department, and two students, Rachel Gonzalez and ReGenia Brown. How are you guys today?
Doing great, thanks.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
So starting off talking about your trip to Spain, when did you guys leave? How long were you guys there, and where did you guys land in Spain?
We left we came back in June.
Yeah.
We left May
16th.
Out of Springfield, Missouri. We flew to Dallas, and then they took us to Madrid.
Okay, so you guys landed in Madrid, and when you guys got off the plane in Madrid, what were some of the first things that you guys did?
Well, we first took a bus because our host city was Salamanca, which is in the northwestern part of Spain, so it was about a 2.5-hour bus ride.
Okay.
So we arrived at technically 8 o'clock in the morning in Spain, but for us that was more like 1 a.m.
So you felt it.
So I was going to say, so did you guys feel the jet lag then?
Oh, yeah.
We were pretty excited though. Some people slept on the bus, other people didn't. We were excited to get there.
So what was it like when you guys were traveling through Spain on the bus? What was some of the scenery and things like that?
There was like mountains and like lots of land on the way there till you got to the city, and it was like super pretty.
So you guys were just kind of in anticipation to get to your guys' final destination. And I think we actually have a video of your guys' arrival too, if we'd like to take a look at that.
So this is our school. Mester is our coordinating agency, and so this is some shot of the school and the arrival on the Monday. So we arrived on a Sunday and slept most of the day, and then on Monday was when classes began.
Okay.
Those were our nifty backpacks they gave us.
Awesome. So they gave you guys some backpacks, and you
Yes.
guys went to class. How long were you guys in class for every day?
9:30 to 1 p.m.
Okay. And did you guys all take the same classes, or you guys kind of take different classes?
Everyone had different levels that they were in. Yeah.
Okay. And so are you guys walking through the city here? Can you tell me a little bit about this?
So this looks to me like the city tour that we had the first day. So we had what they called a monitor, which was someone who was assigned to our group, and so he would take us on tours around the city to see different sites. And Jose Luis, yeah.
That's our cooking lesson, look.
And this was our cooking lesson where we learned to do la tortilla española, which is a traditional dish made of eggs, potatoes, and onions.
What was our teacher's name again?
Jesus?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, all the girls liked Jesus.
He had blue eyes.
So I see this looks like we have meat hanging from the ceiling
That's
here.
the ham that we were talking about.
Okay, and so can you tell a little bit about kind of the differences in dining in Spain?
The schedule is different.
Yes, I mean, that hit us like a rock. Because the first day we went there, our host dad took us to go walk around the city, and then we had to come home and eat, and it was like, first plate, a lot of food. Then second is the meat. And you were like, okay. Then she gave us the meat, and then after the meat, you're going to have your dessert, which is fruit or whatever she prepared.
Right.
And that's a lot for us. Then bread with it, too.
Bread with everything, yeah.
I mean, bread always.
So around what time are you guys having this huge meal?
9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Anywhere in between 9 and 10, usually around 9:30 for our family.
Wow. Okay, so the host family, you guys stayed with the same host family, correct?
Rachel and I got to stay with the same host family, yeah.
Okay, so can you talk a little bit about your experiences with a host family and kind of moving into a family of your own kind of in Spain?
I think Rachel and I are super lucky. I think we had one of the best families out there. Like, they were so welcoming and just comforting. And our mama, she's like super tiny, and she always just wanted to make us like feel at home. And
She had a little spice in her. You could tell. It was funny because our host dad, he would like bang on his stomach like a drum. It was before we'd eat, he would bang on it, and then sometimes Maribel, which is our host mama's name, and Gonzalo, that's her husband, she would smack him on the head. You can only eat this much, and then he'd just bang. He'd bang on his stomach. It was just
because he's always like, you girls, you don't eat enough. You eat too little.
and she would say, "Oh, no more." And we're like, just one spoon.
And that was one of the things several students commented on, is that their host families were always feeding them, and they were trying to, in their Spanish, say, I'm fine, And so we had several students that we had to let them know, no, just reiterate that you're full and you don't need any more and it won't be rude.
Right.
Because our students tried really hard to adapt to the schedule and even the portions, but they just couldn't do it because it was so much food.
Right. And being a part of a culture is
they didn't want to be rude.
Didn't want to be disrespectful at all. Yeah.
So
I ate it even though it hurt.
So we're talking about kind of the differences in culture. Can you tell me some more differences between American culture and Spanish culture?
Well, for me, I thought, well, this is going to be easy. You know, I'm Mexican. I grew up in Latin culture. It has to be similar. When I got there, the dialect's different. There are words that are inappropriate to say to me, that they're saying words to me that are inappropriate in my dialect of Spanish.
Correct.
So I was like uncomfortable sometimes, or I'd say things and they're like, that's not how you say things. And also we refer to people that are older or teachers with usted form, which is like respect. They don't like that. Our teachers wanted us to be like informal and speak to them in the tu form, and or what is it called? Vosotros form. Vosotros form. And so I had to get used to that.
But do you think being immersed completely in the Spanish culture helps you improve your Spanish in any way?
Definitely, definitely. It's sink or swim there. And if you don't know something, they were so polite and to help you. Yeah, because then you, like, if you can't come up with the word, you have to come like with words around it, and then they'll help you with that.
So you probably had quite a bit of different experience as opposed to Rachel, who already was fluent in Spanish, correct?
Yeah.
So how was it for you, kind of?
It wasn't that difficult. For me, it was more the personal space when they would speak to me that got to me.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I was telling her about a story in time. We were in, I think it was Sevilla, I think it was Sevilla.
Yeah, I think it was.
Sevilla, or I'm pretty sure it was Sevilla, because I went over to ask this lady for something. It was like that was ordering, it was like this shrimp and seafood, and she was so close to my face. And I didn't understand. I was just like, it was just too close.
Right, yeah.
Same, and I've had that problem so many times where I would be formal and it was just too close. I need my bubble. My American bubble is what they call it. They called it that, right? They were like, the American bubble. You Americans need your space. I'm like, yeah, I do. I could smell you. Go away. You're too close to me.
So we talk about some of the things that were different. What do you think are some positive aspects of the Spanish culture that we might not have present in ours?
Everyone gets dressed there. Everyone looks super nice every day. The ladies wear a lot of scarves and jackets and stuff. Their heels are all thick there. Like they have chunky heels. And it's probably because we do so much walking, because in the city, it's not really necessary to take a car because you can just walk anywhere within 20 minutes.
Okay.
And I would say too that the pace of life is a little slower in Spain. People sit, especially you saw a beautiful picture of the Plaza Mayor. They sit in the cafes and talk. And you would see children out 9, 10 o'clock at night, families out, just having, a soda or some tapas, like the small appetizer type dishes. Correct. And you would just see them talking, and I thought, they're not at home watching TV or playing video games. They're out socializing with their friends and their family. And it just felt really calm, whereas sometimes I feel like here in the United States, everything's just go, go, go. And I tried to tell that to the students before they left, don't worry about your phones, don't worry about your computers, don't worry about your internet, enjoy where you are, because when we get home, everything's going to pick back up to the pace that you're used to. So take a chance to really, learn about this culture, take a breath, and enjoy yourself. And I think most of the students did do that.
It sounds like it. So you talk about the classes that you guys had there and getting acclimated to Spanish culture. So how do you think that the classes help enhance your trip?
Our teachers were amazing, I feel.
Yeah, they were. I loved my teachers. They were super supportive. And if you felt like you weren't understanding something or comprehending, they would stop and help you.
No pasa nada, they always said. No pasa nada.
Yeah. No pasa
So
It's
what
like
does
nothing,
this mean?
which means like everything's fine, nothing's happening. It'll be all right. You'll get it. They were so calm. We're like, no, we have to get it. We have to get the best grade up. And I'm like, maybe it's that like American type of feel. I don't know, but it's like we have to get an A. Me and her would flip out. No, we have to get to study. And then Leslie would be like, no, you don't. Calm down. We're like, no.
So most of the instructors then were Spanish, I'm guessing, correct?
Yes, all of mine were.
Okay.
Yeah, all of mine were.
So maybe that gave you even a taste of like the culture by having something so close, somebody you were interacting with all the time. That's awesome. So what are some other activities or fun trips that you guys took? I think, Rachel, you talked about going some different places in Spain.
Well, my favorite city is Granada in southern Spain. I just love the feel of it, and we got to go. It was so fun. It reminded us because we were sitting like this when we went, but we went to like a cave. Where is it called?
In Granada, yeah.
And it was like the Muslim, or was it? Or
It
an
was
Arabic?
The Gypsy Caves.
Gypsy caves, that's what it is, yeah. And it was awesome. We got to watch flamenco dancing in a cave, and we were just like so excited to be there.
Yeah, because we got to sit close to the musicians, Rachel and
Yeah,
I did.
that's
And
why
we
it
would
reminded
see
us of that.
Their
Yeah,
feet were right there, and it was really cool.
and I mean the precision in their steps. It was just like they were to the beat. And there was this guy, we called him the Fabio, because he would just put his water down, and we were like, should we just hold that for you? He was just like so precise with his steps. And, yeah, very suave, and he was just so awesome. And he'd step, but they changed the light, and then he'd throw his hair, and then the lady came in and started dancing, moving her hands and her feet, and they were just so quickly, and you couldn't judge them by their age, because you would think, well, she's older, she can't do. Oh, definitely,
She can.
She
So it's
had the
something-
step. She had it down.
And,
Yeah.
and those steps are not easy. We had a couple dance lessons while we were there, and
Okay.
No, they're not.
those steps are not
Remember?
easy. I admire them.
You pick the apple.
You pick the apple, and
take
then
a
you
bite,
throw it
and
away.
you throw it away.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so
how
that's
you get
how
that.
They
they
tried,
said
yeah.
that you learned that.
Your wrist hurts because you're practicing the whole time, and you're like,
And if you're not used to it, you're
turn the
like,
light bulb. Turn the light
We're
bulb.
getting tired. Yeah. So we had that trip that Rachel's talking about to Andalusia, but we also had trips to Madrid, the capital. A day trip. We went to Segovia to see the aqueducts. We saw the medieval walls at Avila, and then what am I forgetting?
Avila had the lions too, because we talked about it. Because it was reminded
What
us.
was the name
Oh,
of the
yeah,
last
the
city
lions.
with the big castle that we went to, the very last one?
Oh, the Mota.
Castillo de Mota. Yeah.
Yeah, a medieval castle.
It was
and then we got
amazing.
to go to a wine cellar and have a meal in a wine cellar. That was cool. That was in Madrigal.
Madrigal.
Yeah.
That castle was amazing though, because if you saw the wall, and I guess the way it was built, because the bricks, or the type of brick, they had holes in it. Well, not holes, but like indentations from cannonballs that never made it, because the construction of it was so great. And he talked about how whenever they had, I guess, I was modern day military, I guess to us, but to them, the way they set it up is like you had to get to so many ways to be able to conquer this castle, or so many techniques to use. And then if you enter, like, during the front or whatever, to get to the entrance of the castle behind the walls, you have to go around.
Okay.
And then they had more defense down.
yeah.
Yeah.
So how old are we talking here? A castle like
I
that?
would say.
Oh gosh, it was medieval castle.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
So centuries old.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was probably. Well, I think he said during like the 15th, 16th century they were still working on it. So they had built it prior to that, parts of it.
So can you talk a little bit about the history in Europe or in Spain, more specifically comparative to the States, where we see?
Well, in Madrid, we got to see a palace that had over 3,000 rooms
Okay, wow.
built in it. And we also went to Museo del Prado there
Saw Picasso.
and saw real Picassos. Like, I mean, it was so
Amazing.
overwhelmingly beautiful.
Goya.
Like, I wept. Like, it was intoxicating. Like, it was so amazing.
Something that you just can't get from a textbook. But
No.
to just be
No,
right
I don't
there.
know. And there's all kinds of art on top of it. There's like Goya and his representations of life at the time. Like I
Yeah.
loved the one that was like the dog something. You know what it was
Oh,
called?
I don't know.
It was a little dog, and half of him was drowning, and half of him was sticking out. And it was, I guess, when I looked it up, it was his representation of people, poverty at the time, how they felt like they were half drowning at all, and nobody was helping them. And that's what his representation of that. I think it was part of his
really powerful.
black.
It was very
Pieces.
powerful, yeah. I mean, it was
Sounds like
amazing.
it.
And they were so old. Like, so I really liked that part, too.
And we were lucky too because our monitor, Jose Luis, who we love,
Yes.
would give us lectures in the afternoons too. So that they had classes in the morning until 1 o'clock, and then they'd go home for lunch, and then at 4 o'clock we'd come back and have usually some sort of lecture. So he talked to us about the Spanish conquest. So back in the 8th century, all the way until the 15th century. And then we talked about other more modern things like when Spain transitioned to a democracy in the 70s. So we went all the way back, and then we went to present day because there was actually an election going on for some local legislators, and so that was kind of timely. So we, a lot of the students didn't understand or weren't aware of the fact that Spain had been under a dictatorship for 40 years, and then only recently had become a democracy and a constitutional monarchy. And so we talked about that, how different the governments are from what we know in the United States versus how Spain is functioning. So we got to talk about that, but then we also had some lectures on art and architecture and literature and a few more on history. And so those were things that were a little bit outside of the classroom setting, but were also really interesting to learn about Spain while we were there.
Yeah,
And he would time them before our tours of stuff. Or places or locations.
So it would enhance your
Yes.
kind of knowledge of
Yeah.
and experience of
He would ask
the
us.
different events.
He'd always
Right,
say,
so we would be like, he would talk to us about a certain type of architecture, and then we'd go and we'd see it.
Yeah.
And then it was like a
He'd always
little
ask
quiz.
us, yeah, he would say, Rachel, what did we talk about in class? Because he was like from Spain, but he had like an English accent. So he'd always say like a word which is like look, which is the house. It was like my favorite. And he'd always say, what type of architecture is this? Or like the one where there's like the arches are like kind of like, it's kind of like your ear.
The lobe.
So
Just
Rachel, what
lobes.
is that?
It's called polilobulado.
Poli for many, lobulado for lobed.
Yeah.
So it's these arches that have multiple lobes. So now when we see those things, we know.
Yes.
So Regina, you talked about you guys actually having dance lessons or classes. What are some other fun activities that you guys had planned?
We
for the
did
time?
artesian jewelry making. We got to go and see an artist that creates jewelry that starts out like super, super tiny. I actually have my necklace on. He made
From all of
this.
it?
And you can only get these in Salamanca.
And it's called a boton charro. Right?
Yeah, so they're originally buttons, and then after they were buttons, they've been changed into jewelry pieces like necklaces and earrings.
That's so awesome.
And we also did a guitar lesson where they made a guitar from nothing into a complete guitar in front of us. How many different pieces of wood was
How
there?
long did that
Too
take?
many. Well, we just saw the different pieces.
Okay.
It was
Yeah,
kind
like
of like a cooking
stages.
show, where
Okay.
you see the different stages.
And then
but-
they're like, this is the finished product.
Yeah.
But it's
Okay,
all made by
awesome.
hand.
It
Yeah.
is phenomenal.
What else
Yes.
did- we saw a lot of tours. We went to several churches and convents, and that's where we would get quizzed on the architecture.
Teresa was one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was my favorite. How do you say it? Santa Teresa?
Santa Teresa.
Es que no es catedral, es una like
Convento, no?
See?
a convent.
Yeah.
And they saved her finger.
She was a reformist and I can't remember what was it.
Carmelite
14th or
order?
15th century?
Yeah, something like
14th or 15th century, and that was not common, especially for a woman
Right.
to be a reformist back then. So she was kind of like not liked, but I loved her.
Yeah.
I mean,
Human.
they kept a preserved piece of her body in a shrine. That's how
Yes.
much they loved her.
Right. And
The
respected her.
The people that respected her.
Right. So where exactly was this? Was this at
that was
the
in
place where you
Avila.
stayed?
That was a weekend day trip.
Okay. Okay.
Which was Jose Luis's home.
Our
Hometown.
monitor's home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he knew a lot of extra special things about Avila to tell us.
Which was probably exciting.
Yes.
To be able to be more well versed in a different part of Spain.
Yeah.
So you guys are kind of bantering back and forth, saying Spanish words and things like that. Were you guys forced to kind of talk in all Spanish at your home? There?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Our host family did not speak English.
Wow.
So-
So what kind of challenge was that?
Rachel would have to help me if I didn't have Rachel. I used Google Translate.
Well, I'm actually told her, I said, we would sound it out, and Maribel is so patient.
Yeah.
Like, I would recommend her if anybody ever goes back to Salamanca, because she's so patient. She just watched, what are you trying to say? She would ask her. She would see that I would try to intervene, and she would say, let me see if I understand her. She put her hand on you with such a loving manner.
Yeah.
Yes, and
So really like a mama.
Yes.
oh yeah, she's like my grandmother.
I called her Mama the whole time.
And Papa, or Mama and Papa.
Mhm, Mama and Papa. Yeah, they were super loving.
Yeah, it sounds like a great trip. What do you think that you guys gained more than maybe if you guys went for a week or two, being there for a month?
So much respect for the culture, and just not just their culture, but everyone's culture and the way they live, and just different people. Just, I learned so much from them.
I just feel like American culture is so individualistic. It's like me, my problems. Every single city is on their own, and I feel like the culture in Spain is more world views, what's going on in France. In my conversation class, we talked about what's going on in Russia. We talked about, because my class had somebody from Japan, somebody from China, us from the U.S. We had somebody from Holland,
Germany.
We made friends from all over. I mean, I have a friend now that I can talk to and go visit in Japan, which was our host sister.
Our host sister,
Lisa.
Okay. So she stayed in the same house?
Yeah,
Yes.
so now I talked to her, and I never had a friend from Japan that I could talk
Correct.
to overseas, and it's like I know that it's not about just that, and I want to learn. Me and her are searching our next.
That's what I was going to say. So you guys had said before the show that you guys kind of have your next adventures possibly planned out, or you're trying to. What
Now
are
we
some
understand
of
her,
those?
I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Since I got back, I'm just like, where's my next trip? Like, I've already started saving money. Like, I definitely want to go to Costa Rica because I'd like to go there and teach and just live there for a year and get my Spanish completely fluent. So if and when I come back to the United States, I can do my own translation for either the courts or the hospital or whatever, because I do paralegal work too. So,
Okay.
but that's kind of what initiated me to come back to school and do Spanish. Is I love it, and there's a lack of that here. So,
But there's quite a need for it.
yes,
Too.
and so we were talking about going to Guanajuato.
Guanajuato. She's actually studied there, been there as well.
I've been there. Yeah, it's great. You should go for sure.
So can you talk to me about where exactly that is for anybody
It's in
at home
Mexico,
that-
and it's a
okay.
beautiful colonial city, and it's definitely worth a couple of days or a week. I mean, there's plenty to do
We have
there.
students there now.
Yeah, there's a student that was in a class. These girls were in a class with me in the spring, so one student who's in that same class was there now, so he can report back now when you talk to him in the fall.
So as far as you guys maybe going to Costa Rica or Mexico, what would you tell somebody else who wants to go abroad and travel? What would you tell them or encourage them to do?
Go and don't pack a lot. You can buy it there.
Yeah, you need to talk to those two about
I
packing.
packed a lot. I mean, I'm not kidding.
I packed a lot, but not as much as her.
I was prepared for everything, though. Some of the girls were like, they had to go get like a nice dress. I was like, I got one. They had to go buy heels. I was like, got them. But the truth is, it's not about clothes, and it's not about what you really take. It's more about joining that culture. Don't like just go there, oh, I'm going to just learn about, no, be that culture. Because I oftentimes, even though I am Latin descent or whatever, I think to myself, I'm fine, I can learn that. But I learned a lot in Spain. I learned to be part of them, walk slower with Spanish people, try to speak like them, try different things like we talked about the pig leg that hangs in all the bars, and that was very difficult for us because it was not something that I was used to.
Right.
And so get out of
But
your
you got
comfort zone.
acclimated.
Yeah, it was
to
just,
stuff
at first
that.
it was strange seeing it, and then it was like, oh, it's everywhere. Like,
Right.
Yeah, just go with the flow.
and they just like shave it off and put it on your top. It's like right there in front of you sometimes.
I give you props, though. You guys tried everything. That was good.
Yeah.
I did, yeah.
I
was
tried
like,
sardines too, by the way. I think I'm one of the only ones.
I think you
No, I ate one with the eye and everything in the head.
Oh my. You both give me high fives for that one. And Professor Leslie Smith, how do you feel people change kind of and transform? How do you see
Well, I
students
mean, I'm
transform
just
when they
sitting
leave?
here listening to them, and I'm beaming. I feel like a mother pride. I'm happy that they had a good experience. I'm happy that they learned some Spanish, they learned some culture, they got to go and experience new things. So it makes me really happy. We've been back now, not quite a month, 3 weeks or so, and we were watching some video earlier, and it was just bringing back all the memories, and it just makes me really happy that we were able to do this. Missouri Southern has only ever taken students to Spain one other time through the Spanish program. So this was kind of, cross our fingers and hope everything goes well, and I don't think it could have gone better.
Yeah, and probably, have great testimonials to talk
Yeah.
about why students really need to go again, in years to come.
Yeah.
For sure. So you talk about getting back and kind of getting reacclimated to American culture. How's it been since you guys have been back?
I miss Spain.
The food, I can't, because they don't use preservatives in Spain. Everything is fresh. Everything is just, right there. This is the fish of the day. The meat is fresh.
The bread is even
Yeah,
different.
the preservatives, I can feel them, and it's hard for me to get used to the food.
Yeah, I have.
And the schedule. Nobody's out just drinking and socializing. I'm like, they all just want to just be indoors, and I want to be outside. I want to be on a terrace. I want to, go walk around the city, and nobody's doing it. I'm just like, I kind of just want to go rent a bike and just
Cycle around Joplin.
cycle around Joplin.
Good luck.
I mean, maybe the life here is just a little bit too compartmentalized. Is that the word? Yeah.
Did you find that different parts of Spain kind of had a different movement within life, though? Did you see?
Well, I mean, the big cities are the big cities. So when we were in Madrid, there were people everywhere and cars everywhere, and you had to really watch when you crossed the street. Salamanca was great because it's a smaller city. The historic kind of downtown area is very pedestrian friendly, so we got really used to just being able to walk places and even having students live near each other. So for example, if we were going to meet up somewhere and we would have a common meeting point, it was probably no more than 20 minutes for anyone to walk. I don't know if you all, I never took a taxi in Salamanca because you didn't need to. The place, every place where we were, we could walk. And so that's really different, you know, coming back here and having to jump in your car for everything.
And drive 15 minutes across town for something, correct. So just to wrap it up, what have you guys gained overall as a person from this trip abroad?
I think going to Spain changed me. Like, I think it's the best thing I've ever done for myself personally and for my education. I truly enjoyed it, and I'm ready to do the next one.
What about you,
I agree
Rachel?
with her. I'm going to teach Spanish, and so I got to learn a different aspect of Spanish. I got to learn architecture of a different culture, and I, being Mexican, we have this view of Spanish culture that is not correct. Once you go there and you see it and you live it, it's something different. I would suggest it to anybody that is studying the language to go and visit the origin of the language.
And maybe someday you'll have students to take to
Yeah,
Spain.
that
and
seems
share-
like
Oh, I wish that on you.
That's like dream come true.
And what about for you, going your second time as a professor?
Well, I mean, I haven't led a student group in many years, so I was really excited about this group. I knew most of them before we left, and they were great. I couldn't have asked for a better group. For me personally, you know, gave me a chance also as a professor of Spanish to practice myself because I don't always get to do that, even here at the university. So for me, it was very rewarding personally to be there and to experience Spain as an older person. I was much younger when I went the first time, so I got to see some things the second time, but it was almost like it was brand new.
Right.
So that was really great for me too. And of course, you know, as I said, sitting here listening to them talk about it just makes me want to go back too.
Yes, awesome. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
for sure.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here on Window of the World. Please stay tuned for more Window on the Worlds for weeks to come. See you later.